25 kilometers southeast from Jihlava, there's a small town Okřížky. The incoming tourist can find there a beautiful old chateau, today the seat of the municipal office, but before the year 1946, the town was an allodial estate in the possession of the House of Colalto. When the railway came to this calm little town surrounded by beautiful nature, it became an interchange station for the lines to Vienna, Jihlava and Brno. The railway gave this poor region a big economic impulse, so in the early 20th century it became the hometown of one big invention.
We are in Okřížky now, and the place behind me is a building supply store now. As you can see, it's not too interesting, but between the 1920s and the 1970s, at this place there used to be a brickworks in the possession of the House of Colalto. The brickworks was situated on a big deposit of a brick clay, and it was supplemented by a small colony of the houses for its administrator, brickmaster and the others. It's up there. Even though this place is not the most important place in the Colalto domain, it became the birthplace of the later famous brick called Jestav.
Jestav was a hollow brick molded in a form in the dimension of two normal bricks. Due to its construction, it had very good isolating characteristics, made building quicker, drying the bricks easier, and became famous all over Czechoslovakia. Its fame even entered the textbook of masonry. It was Prince Emmanuel who found a suitable brickmaster, a man called Josef Prášil, who later invented there a new type of brick, a patent which Prince Manfred readily bought and helped with its assertion. The House of Colalto therefore stood at the birth of a new invention which was to make a big trade hit. The first ideas to enlarge the existing small brickworks in Okřížky came back to 1913, but the First World War postponed them for 7 years. Only in 1920 the clay deposit was properly analyzed and a new factory built on the junctions of the roads to Zašovice and Heraltice, just 1.5 kilometers from the railway station. The fired bricks were made in a kiln housed in the central large building with 2 smokestacks. Besides Jestav, it produced the ordinary bricks, roof tiles and irrigation pipes. Prášil's invention for a machine which molded the Jestav bricks was patented in 1931 in Prague. It was manufactured by the famous company K&R Ježek in Blansko. The House of Colalto contracted Prášil to produce and sell Jestav bricks in the regions around Jihlava, Znojmo, Třebíč and Moravské Budějovice, but the patent for the molding machine, which brought Prášil quite big money, was sold to company Ježek. The 1930s was a time of a big economic depression which ruined a lot of companies in the economically poor region of Vysočina, but Jestav bricks were the hit which helped the brickworks in Okřížky survive the crisis. However, its success inspired a lot of factories in the closer and further surroundings and led them to an unauthorized production of Jestav bricks. In 1937, Count Wiedmann in Luka nad Jihlavou started producing a similar brick under the trademark Voma. A similar but bigger brick called Ero was sold all around Vysočina, and even in Brno, the factories started producing Jestav bricks under their own trademark Dněstav. This was the situation in which the administration of the brickworks was put in charge of Count Eduard Mensdorff-Puyi. This man was briefly discussed in video number 3, so you already know that he was the husband of Giselda Colalto, the 4th son of Vladimir Mensdorff-Puyi, and that besides his good name, he didn't have much funds. Even though Giselda's family's name was Mensdorff-Puyi, from the economic point of view, it would be better to say that Eduard married into the House of Colalto. Eduard and his family lived in the Colalto chateau in Kněžice. Later, in 1939, they moved to Vila Budišovsky in Jihlava, which offered schools and better economic conditions. Eduard, or Dodo, gave all his energy to the brickyard, and as he later confessed in a letter to his brother-in-law Prince Octavian, he fell in love with the craft. Moreover, it brought his family much-needed money. He allowed the Ježek company to supply the other brickworks in the region with the patented Jestav molding machine in return for newer equipment of the factory. This solution helped the Jestav brick spread faster and more widely. Soon, a lot of houses in the near surroundings and even church towers in the Church of the Birth of Virgin Mary in Přibyslavice were built with the use of Jestav. The beginning of the Second World War brought the raw material shortage. There wasn't enough coal for the kiln operation. The production of the brickworks in Okřížky therefore had to be stopped. But Prášil was not one of those who just sit and wait. Even during the war, when the brickworks was closed, he was not idle. He invented a new brick which didn't have to be fired, and he applied for the patent to produce it. But the war situation was getting worse. The factory stood idle, and Eduard Mensdorff-Puyi had to start administering his position in Neččiny or Breitenstein. Prince Octavian counted on reopening the brick factory in 1945, but that plan never came true. Even though the members of the House of Colalto stood at the invention and the early production of Jestav brick, they didn't stand at its continuation. If Prášil was the trademark's father, the members of the House of Colalto were its mother, because they had to go through the birth pangs and they had to hold its hand when it made the first steps in the world. Prášil stayed in Okřížky as a brickmaster even after the war. His new patent for the unburned brick was accepted, and a special mill for processing the clay was created. The brickworks in Okřížky kept manufacturing its products till 1974, but that production doesn't belong to the history of the House of Colalto anymore. The House of Colalto never took a big part in the industrial production. There was a textile factory in Brtnice during the Napoleonic Wars, and there were many farms, breweries and distilleries scattered all around the Colalto domain, but they were never of a big importance. Still in all, the lucky choice of Prášil as the brickmaster was the reason why the House of Colalto stood at the invention of Jestav bricks, and why it belongs even to the textbooks of the industrial production. The later confiscation of the brickworks in Okřížky was a part of the post-war possession transfers, but we are going to deal with it in another video. My name is Jan Koumar, and I can't wait to tell you more about it.